Hello, Guilders, and welcome into Experts of the Golden Shadows, episode 15. Technically, our wrap-up stream. Welcome in. I'm super excited to be here and joined by my lovely cast: Galaxiebot, who played Melu; Domino, who played Cera; Mystrich, who played Brainerd; and Raichkyu, who played Elita. Welcome in, everybody. First off, thank you, Anonymous, for playing Illuminati with 20 bits. Very funny at the start of the stream. But welcome in, everybody. So we're going to be doing a Q&A style section here where the cast is going to ask other members of the cast and myself Q's, and they will possibly get A's as a result. Everybody in chat, also, you can also ask Q's, and they will be added to a list, so that way you can hopefully get A's to those as well. And then you can bring it home and put it up on your refrigerator, because that's what you do with A's. But yeah, we're gonna go in and just dive on in. So I believe we had started by saying, Domino, you were gonna ask me first, right?
Yes. So, just number one, I'm Dom. I played Cera. But my question for Timbo is, which character presented the most challenge when you were planning encounters?
That's a really interesting question, because I like the way that I like to approach designs in general is that I am a big fan of failing forward, right? So when you talk about challenges like that, really what is the most challenging thing, in my opinion, is when designing encounters is you need to basically have like something in place for everybody. You know what I mean? That's going to either test them or make them feel strong or make them feel weak, you know? And I think that is like one of my biggest challenges when I'm designing encounters and stuff, is that I really want people to feel like there was something for them in that encounter. You know what I mean? Like that's a really important aspect to me. So I really think that in terms of that regard, I think that probably Melu was maybe the most difficult to design for, because I wanted to incorporate like Melu was popping off Eyes of the Grave all the time, and I love that, right? And I wanted it to be, and I always felt like during those moments I wanted it to be more impactful than it was, right? Like I always felt like, oh, there's the potential for this huge revelation here, right? And then we finally got to execute on that in I can't remember which episode explicitly. It might have been episode 13 with the reveal of Father Sanguine, right? And that really nailed that moment in my mind. So I think Melu probably was the most difficult in terms of general challenge to write for, because I was like, I want to find something that I can like really challenge them with, right? Excellent. Do you have a follow-up? Yeah.
No, I actually don't have a follow-up. I was just thinking about that because I knew that we had like such a diverse cast of characters, and like their abilities, like, you know, were fairly spread out evenly. So I was just wondering if it's just like, hey, I'm gonna go make this encounter, but this character, they've got like such and such. Is that going to make this encounter too easy or whatever? So I was just wondering, like, man.
There were for sure a couple of times that came up, like again explicitly in regards to Melu, like turn undead is such a powerful ability, and after a while it became just straight destroy undead, right? And I didn't really throw a huge amount of undead into the campaign as well, right? So I really wanted to make sure, like I said, people had their chances for their abilities to shine a little bit. I definitely feel like, again, there was room for, especially in like as short of a form of the campaign it was, there's definitely room for improvement naturally. But I think we're going to see that a lot in the upcoming tabletop stuff that's going to be coming to the channel. All right, sweet. Let's go ahead and flip the script. Does somebody have a question for Dom that they want to ask them?
Oh, spicy.
Oh.
Is it spicy? Why is it spicy?
Oh, I don't know.
I have a question that I was gonna ask everyone, if we want to do like maybe everyone answering this.
Sure.
Yeah.
So this is to all of us. If you had to pick a second class, what would it be?
Like for our characters?
Yeah, like if your character had to multi-class, what would your second class be?
God, if Cera had to multi-class, um, you know, I don't know, cause like just the way that like Cera was being built and how I could see her growth continuing in the future, she's already a bit of a nightmare. Um, and like her having the dragon mark is it's actually a bit OP when I think about it. So I don't know what I would have her multi-class into. Like maybe Bard? Maybe?
Ooh.
Oh, that's such
Um,
that's a really difficult question.
It really is, especially like when you take a character that like, hey, this is how I'm going to make them, and like this is a path that I have chosen for them. So like you kind of already have those steps there for them. So you're not really thinking about like what other route could they take as far as class. I'm gonna say either like Bard or like Ranger
Yeah,
for Sarah.
I feel like kind of jumping off of that, Melu's would probably be Ranger. I think it would make a lot of sense for them, just like where they came from and where they grew up and how they were raised. But like, also, I'm very tempted to say Warlock, which probably sounds like really weird, because they were so devout throughout the whole thing. But the thing is like, um, I could definitely see Melu making a pact in the right situation. Like
Yeah.
I don't think it would. It's the kind of thing like I don't think they'd be afraid to do it, and I think they would very much in the right scenario, whether it be to protect their friends or to get answers that they were looking for, or to understand something further. I could see them. I could see them making a pact if it came to it. Like if something offered, they probably would do it.
See, and this is
It
why I
does make sense
asked
for
because
them.
I knew there was going to be at least a couple like, ooh.
Spicy.
What do you
Why
think?
is it spicy?
Like you said like something like that. Do you have anything like what do you think Melu would make for that trade, right?
Ooh.
Yeah. That's a good question. Can you repeat it actually?
Sure. What do you think? You say that Melu would like make a pact with an entity for knowledge or something, right? Do you have any idea what
Mhm.
that knowledge or something might look like, right? Like knowledge
Oh,
of maybe
yeah.
their birthplace or something like that?
Yeah, I think they definitely would want knowledge of their birth parents or their birthplace. Any kind of knowledge on like why they were left in the woods as well. Because I think it didn't come up very much in the game, but I do think that Melu is. They're not unhappy. They're happy that they grew up where they grew up and who they grew up with. But I think there is a lot of questions where they want to know why things happen to them. And I think they would really like to know like what the motivation there was. That they just kind of got left in the woods and like. So I feel like that kind of information would be a way for them to end up in a pact, and I definitely think that they would have at a point they probably would have taken information about Ruvan if it had been offered to them. Because they almost did at one point. I'm at least I don't know for sure, but in the dream world it seemed like that was what they could potentially have gotten information on, and they chose not to sacrifice those memories for that trade. So
Definitely. I mean, I think in that dream world segment where there's the capacity for a lot of different things to occur, right? simply due to like the almost planescape nature of it, right? Let me ask you another follow-up. Do you think the events of the campaign?
Timbo, I'm
have
gonna
really-
cut you off there, Timbo. Let Raich answer.
Oh, I forgot. I'm so sorry. The
So
class.
if you had to take a second class, what would it be?
I was listening so hard. Anyway, here I am. Hi, I'm Raichkyu. I play Elita. If I had to take a second class, I feel like I have rogue origins in my characters, and I cannot tell you which one was a rogue, but I feel it in my soul. So I feel like it would also be really fucking hilarious if Elita was such a mess, and also a rogue. I think she really liked sneaking around successfully by chance, in the Silver Keep, Flame Keep.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, so I think that she would totally go for both. And if there was like a future thing, I think she could learn a lot from Viola. So it's definitely a possibility for the future.
That's
A sorcerer
fun. That was
rogue
actually
would
going to be my next
probably
question.
be
Who do you
cool.
think is going to be? Who do you think is going to be Alita's mentor in stealth? Man, Viola,
yeah.
such a good answer.
Yeah,
What a good
she's
response.
dating
Yeah.
a spy.
100%.
Viola is a very good answer. I do want to remind you that there were a couple of times that we were sneaking, and Cera had to be like, "Put your head down."
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And I think that also is just so interesting and fun because it's like the very obvious answer is like a cleric or a paladin and like to play up that religious angle, but it's also so fun to like go into the rogue angle and you're instead playing up the fact that like she compulsively lied and maybe
Yeah.
enjoyed it.
Yeah. I think she really liked being sneaky and doing things stealthily, and I totally see that as a possible future for her.
Yeah.
Honestly, I love it
could
for her.
see
Yeah.
that. Which is interesting as well,
But what
because
about
like that
Brainerd?
feels like it's kind of shifting into the more like seedier side of the origin story as well, right? Where it's like the origin
Yeah.
is about like manipulation a little bit and like kind of doing wrong, and it's very, very interesting, very compelling.
Yeah, turning it around.
I do want to ask Melu that question I had for them though. So, Galaxy, do you think
Mhm.
that over the course of the campaign, do you like? I felt like initially there was a question in Melu's mind of like where they came from and stuff like that, but they were really kind of going with the flow and it wasn't really pressing on them. Do you think that the events of the campaign have changed that? Like, do you think that it's like now this is like a concern of theirs? Like it's like a proper goal now?
I think so. I think especially after they found out they were so attached and so directly attached to Ruvan, they were like, okay, I gotta know what's going on because this doesn't seem like a random accident anymore. Like it at some point it became, or it went from being, I mean, I'd kind of like to know, like this god is giving me these powers, and I believe and I'm faithful to him, but like I would like to know more. And then at some point it transitioned into this feels like I was chosen to do this, and I don't understand why I was chosen to do this when I had no support around me. Because at some point it's like the question becomes, if they were left in the woods, why did Balinor choose Melu instead of maybe another drow that followed him, that was surrounded by people who worshipped him and knew who he was and like grew up in the religion and weren't like found alone wandering in the woods with this holy symbol. So like I feel like they would want to know like what's going on there, because it seems like kind of a strange choice in their mind. Like it was like for Balinor to choose them seems weird, you know?
Right. Basically, how suspicious and like the circumstances surrounding your discovery, right, were not the most helpful to the eventual path that you took, right?
Yes, exactly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good question. That is a very, I can see that. Yeah, I absolutely can see how, like, especially after what happened with the campaign, that would really push that to the forefront of their mind. Awesome. Okay, cool.
So a follow-up to this question,
Yeah.
I want to say, like, I want to flip this on Mist.
Do it.
What's another class that you would choose for Brainerd?
So for Brainerd, I think either Bard or Fighter. Bard would kind of focus on a more artistic direction for him, and maybe like work in that, like, and kind of lead to that idea I had where like maybe Brainerd keeps going up in the Golden Shadows and has some spy training. I feel like Bard is a really good class for that. But Fighter, I could also see him like learning some sort of goblin fighter style and maybe using like the Rune Knight build for Fighter or something, and having that be reskinned from like giant runes to like goblin runes. And I think that fits with his goblin shield a lot, and I could see him doing that.
That's fun. I like that.
Love a rune knight.
That's pretty cool.
I do also like the idea, like, narratively of Bard, because Brainerd is so particular about what he shows off, right? Like, it would be,
Yeah.
I think it would be fascinating for him to, like, flub a performance check, right? Like, I would love to see that played out, right?
Save face so hard.
And I also think, like, the fighter element of, like, exploration of the giant runes, right? And the goblin runes, right? I think that there is totally the capacity for that, especially like in the revelations of the finale, right? With the dragon mech suits that were of ancient goblin design, right?
Oh right, those were just around now.
Yep.
Yeah, they
We
flew
freed
back
them.
into the docking bay underneath Sharn.
Did we though? Oh no, we did. Still. Alright. So Miss had a question for everybody. Why don't we do a question for Raich? I believe Galaxy has one.
I've got a good one.
Whoa.
Which was your favorite of Elida's like elaborate lies and like bits? And I don't want to call them bits because they weren't like jokes necessarily, because most of the time they had a means to an end. But like
They were
the
funny
like
as hell. Yeah.
yeah, just like the way Elita would just like walk into a situation and lie directly through her teeth. I want to know which one of those situations was your favorite.
This is a good one.
Yeah. So it has to be one of the earliest ones, and also the one that went the absolute worst. It could have possibly gone, which is in the Casino Heist episode, where she really wanted something. There was some like really cool like religious artifacts that she bid on when Cera was telling her not to bid on
She
them.
needed.
She needed them.
Mhm.
She needed it, and she was so involved in the think fancy mindset, which would be the cause of her demise, honestly. But what was so funny about it was that I don't think I even really like. I just kept talking. Lita kept talking, and like it just got worse and worse. Like trying to make up answers and stuff to things that, like a phone number, and calling a random dude who like was just like,
really
who
mad.
is this? Really mad.
Yeah.
And I think that was like also the first time that Alina's panicking manifested in a wild magic surge, which I always really liked. That I had a lot of fun with panic attacks
say
being related
this.
to wild magic surges.
I will say this about that moment. Like, congratulations. You got the closest out of everybody to a TPK.
I did. I heard
You
the
did.
entire party. I knocked out NPCs. Completely took them out of commission. It was great
Like,
for me.
Congratulations on that.
Honestly, truly that moment was so good too, because like after that, like she was she was so successful after that.
Yeah.
And it was just funny because like we had such a reaction after where we'd be like, Elita, maybe don't do that thing that you're doing right now, and then she would do it and
like,
she would be fine.
Oh, I'm gonna do
Yeah. Yeah, that moment really made everybody doubt her. But rightfully so, because I think she's also still learning boundaries, and she still has a lot of maturing to do, because a lot of her maturity was halted by, growing up in a cult. So like she's still figuring things out as she's going on, and so it's like what Timbo said, was like, except related to a character, like failing forward, honestly. So it taught her some lessons. It was really funny. But yeah.
Galaxy, I think there was like a secondary question that you had for Raichkyu.
Oh yes, there was also, do you miss the floofs?
Absolutely, 100% every day of my life. I wish they could have stayed. I loved them. I love the connection that Elita had with the floops. It's beautiful.
I'll never forget you.
And yeah, and just the fact that she was like, "Help me" to them when that big 10 times wild magic surge kept happening over and over. Ugh, loved those guys. Love those little dudes.
They were so good.
Yeah,
Those funky little floops.
they're so good.
Those little guys.
Can I offer you a nice floof in this trying time?
That was
Yes,
literally what it felt like when you did it, Timbo.
I will take it. I will take it. We'll take several floops. Thank you.
All right. I think next question's for Mist.
Hell yeah.
Right, you want to ask that?
Yeah. Fuck yeah. Okay. I lost my page. Hold on. I have it, don't worry. It's just in, of course it's in Edge. Alright, anyway. Okay, who is Brainerd's closest friend before the campaign and why?
Ooh. Is that from the party members or from anyone?
Oh, anybody. Yeah.
I would like to know who like
Mhm.
like that, but with mispresenting that, I want to know who like Brainerd considered their closest friend, like from the
yeah.
party as well.
Yeah, both. Let's go with both.
Yeah. Let's roll with both.
Okay. I think in the party before the campaign, it probably would have been Elita. I think
Aw.
Brainerd saw Cera more like the boss. And I don't know. He's not religious, so I don't see him like necessarily like connecting with Melu either. So I think it would have been Elita from the team.
Okay. Yeah.
Makes sense.
And in general, I would imagine that there's someone who's probably like on the richer side type of noble who comes into the shop, maybe like a really bad wand duelist who breaks their wand like almost weekly, and Brainerd
Oh my
repairs it, because I
gosh.
did establish that was kind of his like specialty, was like artisanal wands.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's maybe someone like that. Like it's a business relationship where this person is such a regular customer that they're also kind of like buds.
Sure.
I think I remember when we were planning for this and planning our characters. I remember talking to Mist, and we're just like, our characters are gonna be so stupid. Like, our characters are gonna be so stupid.
I think that's the other thing, is that we probably had the best dumb ideas together. So
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. That's how we burned someone alive.
Oh my gosh.
Unfortunately, they were
Yeah.
together.
Yeah.
also we went to
cannot
the
believe,
headmaster
like-
together, and Brainerd kind of tried to stop it, and then just went, you know what? I'm just gonna let Elita do her thing.
Yeah.
Fucking- and then like Reich said, not too long after, completely immolated somebody.
Yes.
Just goodbye.
Sometimes you gotta.
Which, by the way, Brainerd got away with that murder.
Oh, yeah.
did.
He
Ooh,
did.
we have a question from the chat. What's a
That is a great
keepsake
question.
each character would give to the other characters?
Oh, that's sweet.
Let me go first because I've already done it. I
Okay.
did. Cera gave Ellida her backpack that her parents gave her before she went to House de Jarasco and then subsequently, went to war. and it's something that has just been like such a sore spot for her, as she just like has at least like felt like she could not go back and see her family again. So like she said, it's just been wasting away in like the bottom of a trunk, and she would rather like this thing go have a full life with someone else, and someone that she does consider like a friend. And I think Cera also gave like gifts to everyone else, but like they're like less significant. Like they're still significant, but they're like not as significant as like here's a personal fucking item. So
Yeah.
that's what I would say.
Come up with them. Come up with them right now. What?
Well, Cera literally gave Elita a book of poetry. She gave Brainerd a scroll of, I forget exactly what spell now.
It was a weird cantrip from some book I don't own, so I also don't remember what it was. Off the top
Yeah,
of my
it was
head.
just one of those like, this is a weird cantrip, but it's also something that like Brainerd could find useful, and it's something he can't cast on his own. And the fuck did I get Melu?
Yeah, I'm
It's
trying
also
to
a book.
remember.
It was a
Oh,
a
it was
child's
a book.
like
Yeah,
story
like-
version of Ravon.
Yeah, like folklore of like just like
Yes,
yeah.
I remember this now.
Mhm. So yeah, that's what she got everybody. Ta-da.
Ta-da.
Once I go next, what keepsakes would they have gotten the rest of the party?
I can.
So I did start making magic items for people.
Yeah, what were the rest of the
Yeah,
items? And
yeah,
remind us what you did
so-
make.
Yeah, so I made a ring for Melu that was able to shoot like a spectral ram out because I felt, or not a ram, it was based on the ring of the ram, but it was I was like, I want this to be Melu flavored, so I made it more like a deer to match
Oh yeah, it was
their
a
horns.
stag. Right.
Yeah. And then let me see the other
so cool.
ones. So Cera was the one I had the hardest time with. So I originally wrote down like Elven Chain because you needed more armor desperately. But I was like, I wish I could make this more entertaining. So I did consider maybe armor that could glamour into clothing because that is an item as well.
Oh, that is very Sarah too.
That is
It is.
so Cera flavored.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I can just imagine that'd be so cool too. Like a moment where Sarah gets like stabbed while out and about, and like the blade just deflects off this like +1 magical armor, which then shifts into like from a suit into armor. That'd be so cool. Oh, that'd
Yeah,
be
here it
awesome.
is. I called it Queen's Chain. This is a chain shirt version of glamored armor, a +1 chain shirt that once per day can change into another outfit visually.
Fucking love that. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's really awesome.
How many outfits
and
can
then-
it hold?
I have to double check because it's the glamored armor property is what I based it on, but like they only give you glamored studded leather. You can change it once per day. You can change the armor into any clothing and accessories you like. It retains its normal bulk and weight.
Wow, so it's really fashionable. So you can be any fashion you can imagine.
That's super awesome. That would be
That's super
amazing.
cool. Yeah. love
And
that.
then for Ellida, I did suggest a scythe to Timbo when I was crafting them, only because I had made a item called Ring of Chaos, which I ran it by Werewolf, and Werewolf was like, yo, this is way too strong. And I was like, all right, I gotta figure out something else. And then I was like, oh, well, Raich has the 2 gemstone thingies anyway, so I feel like playing with her sorcery powers is like, maybe she has too many options for that already. So that's why I was like, all right, let me try and make a scythe. And then Timbo said, I'm actually about to give her a scythe anyway.
Oh,
It was like one of the number one things she kept wishing for at the end of the
That's
game.
why I was like, we're close to the end. Timbo, can I just craft this?
Can I just give her a scythe?
So that would have been, I called it the Scythe of Perfect Peace. It's a quarterstaff that on a crit turns into a scythe, or it's a scythe that has a holy look to it and can be wielded as a magic quarterstaff that deals lethal damage. That way she was proficient with it, and it has, I forget how many charges, but you can spend a charge to do bonus radiant damage.
oh, neat. Love that.
That's
I
Yeah,
love
'cause
hearing about that. I never knew
For some
about
reason,
it.
there's no scythe in the D&D weapons. I was like, this is so
Right?
weird.
That is very weird.
Isn't it
Yeah.
weird?
And so
I
I was
got
like, all right, it's a quarterstaff that deals lethal damage instead.
I got
there
obsessed
you
with for context, I got obsessed with the Elden Ring weapon that has the feathers
Oh, right.
on it.
Oh, that
That-
makes so much sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So that's why I was like, can I get that scythe, please? Like,
Ooh,
Yeah, that-
okay, so I
that
went into
checks
my
out so
old
hard.
notes. Melu, I forgot yours changed because yours changed the least. Originally I had Shield of the Stag God, a +1 shield that lets you cast Summon Beast for a Spectral Stag.
Ooh.
And then I was like,
Oh,
ooh,
no.
Ring of the Ram, though, kind of does what I wanted this to do anyway. Let me make Ring of the Stag.
Stat.
I will say, still thank you to Timbo. And if I ever get a chance to play Cera again, she's going to use her daggers and just be Yondu.
Oh yeah. Do you like those daggers? That one was that's a homebrew one.
They're so cool, and I'm like, and I didn't get a chance to use those.
Yeah, that was a pretty impressive one of the finale episodes where y'all basically, I think it was the finale where y'all got all the magic items. That was, and cleaned out the vault. That was sick.
yeah.
This is
Yeah.
this is what happens when you have a situation like this earlier in the campaign and we fail.
Oh yeah.
But you
Oh,
didn't
yeah.
fail. You got
So
Facet.
determined.
What about Facet? Somebody call Facet. They're crying.
Look, don't get me wrong. We got Facet. I'm very happy for Facet. I'm so glad that I broke Facet out of that glass case of emotion.
Yeah, it
However,
turned out to be very important
you
to get
left
paid.
Right? We left a lot of things in that vault. To this day, I still think about how Galaxy was like pining for that deck of many things.
I wanted it so bad.
Like to this day, I think about this and I'm just like, I wish I could have gotten that for them.
Could you imagine the chaos that Melu could have wrote on the party?
You mean more than what they already did?
Exactly. Would have been so much more if I had the deck of many things. I would have been so obnoxious about it.
Oh my god.
I like to be like that. Don't give me
Yeah.
things like that. It's not a good idea.
Oh, I knew, honestly, you want to know a little secret about that? I knew that was going to be the most tempting to you as well, Galaxy, because I was like, I know you're a big nerd, and I know you love the deck of many things. I was like, I'm just going to literally put this in here, because I know that, and I'm going to describe it as a nondescript box of playing cards, because that's going to be enough.
I knew exactly what it was.
Yep.
You're right.
Call
me
I
out.
was like, I know, because I'm exactly that person too. If you put a fucking nondescript box of fucking playing cards somewhere, I'm gonna be like, oh god.
Oh,
Exactly.
so
Yeah.
Raichkyu Galaxy, what are your keepsakes that you would give? And then we'll get to systems question.
So I feel like, here's the thing, is I 100% feel like Melu would think that sufficient gifts are like a collection of pine cones from a very specific place.
Oh, that is so cute.
like I feel like they'd be like, Cera likes things that smell nice and perfumes, so here's a collection of like pine cones and like pine needles that will make her room smell nice, and like they'd put it in like a nice little basket for her. Like I could also totally see them like hunting and then killing and dressing an animal and then like bringing the meat to Brainerd so that he could have like a nice meal. I don't know why that feels right for Brainerd in particular.
I love it.
And then like with Elita, I feel like 100% they're like, they would definitely be like making like a card or something. Like I feel like like they would be like, what would Elita want? Elita would want me to sit down and do arts and crafts for her.
Oh.
They would just be like, I'm gonna make this little card and give that to her. Like, so like as far as like keepsakes go, I feel like they would do something like that, or like a letter. Because I feel like they are just, like I said, I like, they definitely would think that like sufficient gifts are things that have come from the woods, so I don't think they would necessarily like put together that they could just go and buy things.
Oh.
Yeah.
I love this funky little dude so much.
They are a funky little dude, and I do love them so much.
Right.
So Elita's bag is full of stuff, but nothing probably that. I guess when I read this question, I was like thinking about it, about like a keepsake that she had of hers that she would give to somebody else. There's probably nothing in that category, because pretty sure when she ran away from the cult, she lost everything she had, if she had anything to begin with. But I think, while we've been talking too, I think for Melu that I think they must have had a conversation, probably about. I can imagine them connecting over like Elita's lack of family to Melu searching for their biological family. I think Elita would probably make them kind of like family friendship bracelets that they could wear, because I feel like Melu, well, I mean the whole squad, but I think there's something special with Melu in particular too over the campaign.
That's so cute.
Yeah, where she'd want to be connected to them. So yeah, probably feels very familial, you know, like in a sibling kind of way.
Yeah.
When she ever had that experience. So I think that would be from Melu. I think Elita would get Brainerd some kind of watch or clock, so that he knows how much time has passed when he is working on something.
He's so gonna ignore that.
Yeah. I mean,
Brainerd, while working on his stuff, I pretend I do not see.
yeah, she'd probably like, I don't know, she'd probably decorate it a little, make it kind of nice. So like it's not
What
just
if she
for...
bedazzled it?
That's
Oh
what I
God.
immediately thought when my Brainerd decorated it.
decorating it. Yeah, okay, yeah, she could totally bedazzle that. She'd want to make it look kind of sparkly, like, because I think a part of her also knows that he's not going to pay attention to it, but it's, you know, it's there, and it has a use, but it also looks neat.
There was an attempt.
Yeah, there was an attempt. So I think that's what she would give to Brainerd, and then, Sarah's a tough one. I think it's hard. It's hard to like think about what Cera would keep. Like,
Just
you know,
I'm picturing this scene where Elita is like thinking about what she wants to give to Cera, and Melu walks by with a basket full of pine cones.
Just a basket full of pine cones.
Yeah.
right?
Exactly.
That's it. That's all you need. Yeah. I mean, if she sees that, it's just like, oh, okay. I think she would overthink Cera for sure. I think she would overthink it.
If it makes you feel any better, I feel like that is just like the general conception about Cera. It's just like, I don't fucking know.
No, but I feel like, so honestly, I feel like it comes from a deeper place than like, I don't know. I feel like it comes from like wanting it to be right for Cera and wanting to impress Cera and also wanting to give Cera something that they would like, you know, like, so it would come from that spot. And even as I'm talking, I'm still thinking.
And giving gifts in
but-
general is hard because it's like,
It is.
Bro.
It is. Ugh. Oh, you know what? You know what? I did think of something and then I forgot it and I remembered it again.
yes.
I think she'd give her a little like a necklace with wings on it.
Aw.
Because of how natural Cera was as a pilot.
Ooh.
And yeah, so I think that either she'd make it or she'd see it and know it should be Cera's. So she'd get it for her.
Oh.
That's what it is.
That's
Yep.
nice.
Oh. Alright.
Sorry.
So System says, College AU, who is the one in charge of cooking?
Not Elita.
I think it's Brainerd.
You think it's Brainerd?
You know what? Yes.
You think it's Brainerd? Okay. Because I was going to say it's either Melu or Cera.
I think Brainerd is a stay out of my way. I am
Okay.
making food.
So
Get
here's
out of
the
my
thing.
kitchen. It's my workshop now.
Yeah.
I think Melu could cook. Okay, I don't think Melu can cook.
Yeah.
Like I think they could in game they could probably cook over a campfire. Otherwise, absolutely not.
There's a
I'm
reason
just-
that Melu is hunting the meat to give to Brainerd.
Yeah.
Like, just because I feel like I feel like because Melu is a hunter, like they will be the type of cook that, yeah, they're gonna make like a hearty rabbit stew or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
So like that's why I say Melu. I'm not saying that they're gonna sit there and make like, you know, like the fanciest cuisine or whatever, but like Melu's gonna make something that is, you know, it's utilitarian, sticks to your ribs, like you're gonna like, it's gonna give you energy to like study throughout the entire fucking night, you know?
Yes, I feel like that is the only kind of food they could make. Like genuinely, that's like all they can do, and even then, they probably still mess it up sometimes. Like I think, like with Melu in particular, I think it's less about being able to like cook and make something that tastes good, and more about like trying to organize themselves in the kitchen. Like so, like even when they do cook, it's probably just like an active disaster zone afterwards. Like
that's fair.
there's 15 pots. You don't know why they all got used because they made a stew. Like, it's like that.
Oh my
And
god, it's so
then-
good.
The reason that I would say Cera is because the type of person that Cera turned out to be while I was playing her, like not the type of person that like I set out for her to be, but like that she turned out to be, she is the type of person that she definitely enjoys food, but she will learn how to make it for herself. Because she would be the type of person that would be like, okay, but like I had this like mutton that was like really delicious at this one place and I want it again and I can't be there right now, so I'm gonna figure out how to fucking make it.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah. Next question. is. Oh, it's a question for Galaxy.
Okay.
Mist, you want to pitch yours?
Sure. So for Galaxy, I had. Actually, no, I'm gonna skip because this kind of got answered already.
Okay.
Yeah, this was kind of answered when I asked about I forget what triggered it, but we were talking about that, like the dream sequence and what Melu would have learned.
Mm,
Yeah. Then
Oh,
I
the
will-
Warlock Pack, that's what it was. Yeah.
yes.
Then I'll ask mine. How annoyed does Melu get when Cera dotes over them?
Honestly, I don't think it bothers them at all. I think they just like genuinely. I think it doesn't bother them at all, but they feel bad that Cera is doting on them, and like they feel bad that they're having to be taken care of. So they're like, so their reaction is like, no, you don't have to do that. It's really okay. I promise it's fine. But it's not like that they're annoyed. It's that they just like don't want to bother, like be burdensome to Cera. And they're never bothered by it though. Which is why they would eventually just be like, okay, yeah. And just like stop.
Come here,
And
you
let
have
it happen.
acid on you.
Covered in acid. I forgot about the acid very briefly. But yeah, no,
That was such
genuinely,
a
I don't
funny
think it bothers
scene.
them. It was funny. I honestly, that whole fight was just kind of funny because I was like, Melu wouldn't heal themselves. I feel like every fight where Melu took a significant amount of damage, I was like, Melu wouldn't heal themselves though. They would heal other people. So
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh, mood.
yeah.
All right.
Is it Reich next or?
As far as a question for Timbo, yeah, it
Ooh,
would be right.
Timbo.
Oh,
For Timbo.
hey Timbo, I want to know who your favorite NPC was to play and why.
Favorite NPC to play?
I have
Yeah.
a guess.
Me too.
That's a really hard one.
Timbo
Let me break
loves
it
all
down
of his
into two
NPCs
sides
equally.
to make it easier for myself. So,
Yeah,
side
break it
one,
down.
side one, the good guys, side one, the bad guys. Okay.
Yes, yes.
Okay,
Okay, yeah,
okay.
okay.
In
Fair.
terms of good guys, it was really fun playing as Ptolemy. Was a really good time.
All day.
Yes,
I
love Ptolemy.
Ptolemy was great.
So good.
Playing as Zed was a lot of fun too. That was very
Oh,
enjoyable.
that was great.
Zed was so
Um,
good.
And then in terms of playing the villain, man, I don't know. I'm cut between Brother Bobby and Artemis Griffin, Fancy Man. I don't know. I'm like dead broke between the two of them. I can't decide.
Your brother Bobby was so fucking good, so nefarious and like evil.
Man, fuck both
I-
of them.
Am
Yeah, honestly,
partial
though.
villain wise to the TV CEO from really early on.
What did
Yeah.
I name that guy? Yeah, let me pull up my doc real quick because I can't remember for the life of me what I called that man. But it was a play on, it was a play on famous billionaire names. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Hold on a second. Oh,
As it should have been. It seemed
As it should have
appropriate
been.
for it to be.
Was it Zark
It was-
Muckleberg?
Sark Muckle. I don't remember it being that on the nose.
Yeah, I don't think it was.
It was pretty on the nose, to be fair.
Listen, we had a game where Mushroom had a rival named or was that Zark Muckerberg in that game? Maybe it was. I've also had I've had more than a few Beth Jezoses.
I was about to say, because in a masked one shot that Timbo did, we named the bad guy Beth Jizzos.
Which worked out perfectly because the mass one shot was a super powered competition and it was being ran and produced by Gamazon.
Yep.
Amazing.
And
Yeah,
broadcast
that
on Twitch.
broadcast on Twitch.
No, it was bought on Tweak. On
On
Tweak.
Tweak. Yeah, there it is. That's really good too. I cannot find it.
Oh,
Yeah, it was like I think it was like Percival Tusk or something like that.
I think it was Percival Tusk.
That sounds right.
God.
Oh,
Percival Tusk.
That was a lot of fun too. You know, it's always fun to play like a character that is gripped by what they believe to be divine insight, right? Like those are always fun characters.
oh yeah, dude.
Yeah.
I also really enjoyed the scene that played out with the succubus, and that was all very
Oh!
deeply amusing to me. That whole thing was
Yes!
just so funny.
It was so amusing to me, but at the same time, like I have never experienced FOMO so hard because I'm like, this encounter is custom made for me. And I'm taking a nap right now.
That was yeah. So there's a big thing that I've like recognized in dungeon design that I was turned on to by this one tabletop creator named the Alexandrian, who talked about this dungeon design aspect called Jaquaying the dungeon. I don't know where it comes from, but I assume from another designer named Jaquay. But basically the idea is that your dungeon has flow to it, right? It's not just like a linear line that you're walking through, right? Instead, it's like several large or interlapping circles that lap over each other, right? So there were multiple entrances to get into multiple places throughout the dungeon, right? Like the different doors and the different passages all presented different opportunities for you, the party, to explore, right? So, and that's part of the fun thing about that kind of design mentality, is that like it had the opportunity for Raich to wander off on her own and get involved in this whole succubus thing while a short rest was occurring, right? Which wouldn't be possible if everything was linear and you could just you literally had to walk in a straight line, right?
Right, exactly.
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, that's so
It was very good. It was a very good scene because, like, oh man, I'm just thinking about it and how the succubus was like, like when she started to question, like, wait, it's like, nope, okay, and then
Oh my gosh.
trying to steal from Brainerd and Brainerd, everything working out to let this happen, and oh my god,
Oh my, what a mess.
there's a succubus in this world right now. Just so everybody knows, succubus loose.
She's
There's
somewhere.
just there's some
Somewhere.
kind of super succubus just loose in the Underdark.
It's fine.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah, definitely won't come back to bite us in the ass at all at some point, maybe.
Oh no! Why would no?
No.
Why would that ever happen? Ever? It Dungeons consequences in my Dungeons and or Dragons? No way!
Oh,
Hey!
my stomach hurts.
Dungeons and Dragons. I thought we were playing Princesses and Ponies.
Oh my gosh.
That's next season.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So I want to ask a question to the group now. Actually, what was everybody's? Maybe this is a better ending question, but I want to know what everybody's favorite moment was in the game.
So do you want us to think on that, or?
Yeah, okay, we'll think on that. Let me introduce that to y'all's brain spaces. We'll come back to that like near the end.
Okay.
Okay, great. Who's next? Who for the?
I think the next question is for me.
Perfect.
How are you reading these? Because I'm trying to follow along and I can't, and I'm so confused. And I made this thing and I have no idea.
I am just scrolling to the next person as they get answered.
So,
Oh,
Dom, you're asking a question or receiving a question?
I am receiving a question.
Gotcha.
Gotcha. Who wants to ask Dom a question?
Yeah, I can. Would anything make Cera retire from the shadows? Or is she in for life?
I don't necessarily think that Cera is a lifer in the Golden Shadows. I think that she has a willingness to walk away from anything at any time. She fucking feels like it, as evidenced by, kind of faking your death. But, like, I could also see her I could see her also kind of pulling a Brainerd and like climbing the ranks within the organization, or at least like gaining enough notoriety that she's only called in for like really special assignments. But I could definitely see her retiring, because for her at some point she does want a family, however that ends up looking to her, and she would absolutely step away from the Golden Shadows to nurture that.
Big ol' softy.
I mean, yeah, kinda.
I think that's really interesting too, because like, to me, it feels like Cera is definitely the type of person that would be like, I want to have it all. You know what I mean? Like, I want to have the career. I want to have the family. You know, why not? Right?
Oh, 100%. But also, like, if it really came down to it, where it's like, hey, I can't keep going out on these like really dangerous like missions. And like I literally like have like a family, she would eventually like she would choose one over the other. That being said, she's got a lot of life to live, so
That's true.
she can in a sense like have it all.
I think it's really interesting too, like both, like 'cause now both you and Brainerd have talked about like potentially going deeper and ranking up in the shadows, right? Which I think has the capacity to be really interesting, right? Because it's like you could go in different directions, you know. Like I imagine, like Brainerd potentially like diving into like the crafting aspect and like the kind of like handler side of it, while Cera really dives deeper into like wet works and becomes like a proper agent. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like I could absolutely see Cera actually like being tapped to be a part of the shadows instead of the Golden Shadows.
Right. Exactly, right. And I think that's definitely on the table for everybody's character too, right? Like I think that's totally possible, right? Yeah. All right, great. Who is next?
We got a question for Raichkyu. So we've already done galaxies. It could be between me or Mist. Do you want me to ask my Mist?
I can go if you want.
All right, go for it.
Would Elita start her own religious group, considering she enjoyed using her holy powers, and even when we went to the Church of the Silver Flame, she wanted to pretend to be like an angel of the Silver Flame? Like, do you think she would go back to that sort of life?
So not in this timeline. I think that this was mainly like her doing the best thing that she could come up with to get what she needed out of the situation. I do think she liked it, but I also think that she also was afraid of it at the same time. So I think that because of everything that led up to this moment, who she is in this universe, like her fear like shadows any kind of desire or want to continue that feeling. I think she doesn't want to be like Galadriel. I think she knows the weight of her abilities. But that being said, it's very likely if things had gone just slightly different in her past, that there is an alternate timeline in Ellida who has overthrown Galadriel and is incredibly powerful cult leader villain. Yes.
Oh.
That took a turn. I mean, I didn't even think about it in that way. I just meant like, you know, she does have magic powers. She theoretically could lead people and do good things again, but you know.
No.
What a twist.
She's the two extremes. She's either I'm abandoning that life or I'm taking over. I'm God now.
I think her and this this universe is just way too repulsed at the idea of all the harm it did pretending to do good. I don't think she would even want anything to do with leading people ever again. Because that was what most of her...
There could be another Elita that exists that drank
Yes.
deep from the Kool-Aid and liked the flavor.
Yes.
Evil
Like the
Lita.
power. Yeah,
Evilita!
Elita!
Negalita!
Evilita makes me think of
And
like the first time I realized in Masters of the Universe He-Man that Evelyn is Evelyn, but also
Yeah.
Evil Lyn.
Yeah, yeah, dude.
Yeah,
Oh my God.
just like that. Yeah.
So good.
Oh.
Elita.
I know, right?
Lita.
Evilita.
The amount of times I've thought about that alternate reality, I'm like, damn. It'd be so bad.
Maybe we should do an entire alternate universe like one shot where everybody's plays evil versions of themselves. Brainerd killed his
Oh,
cousin.
I was about to say, like, what the fuck does evil Cera even look like?
Hotter somehow.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's true.
Or alternatively, she could go like full dragon. Like truly have embraced like I'm gonna tear people's throats out as a dragon.
Ooh.
Oh my goodness.
The killer.
Maybe regicide for maybe you killed your patron somehow and that you took his dragon heart and then went and toured Rome. How about that?
Fun fact, right? That was like when I was very early on making Cera, that was a possible story beat that I wanted for her.
Oh my god.
I love
Yeah.
that.
For her to
Holy
like
fuck.
kill her patron. Yeah.
Wow. That's I mean wow.
I think we'd asked about this a
Holy
long
shit.
time ago, because I remember talking about like evil or reverse Brainerd would be like mad scientist.
Yes.
That makes a lot of sense.
Oh man. That's very good.
I
I'm
think-
getting very much like FMA vibes from that, to be honest.
Yeah.
Oh god.
I can't
Our
imagine
next question.
evil Melu. Sorry, you can keep going. I'm just like trying to picture it in my mind. It's not coming to me.
Well, it would just be Melu with like
Actually using their
naive.
weapon.
Not naive, but with no morals.
Naive,
like
but with
Vin-
no. Yeah.
I think it would be no hesitation every time they pulled out their weapon and they were going to do
Exactly.
something.
Like they
would
would
just
just be
be no
like,
hesitation.
oh, the quickest means to an end is just to like, I'm just going to kill this thing because that is the quickest way to end this conflict.
True.
Vindictiveness.
You're right.
Hmm.
So next question for Mist. This one's from me. Do you see Brainerd's decision to forget that his cousin stole his inventions as a net positive? Do you think their cousin will ever be exposed?
I think is it. So I think Brainerd definitely agrees with it. Like to me, I as a player see it as like an avoidance problem, obviously. But I think Brainerd legitimately does believe it was the right choice of like get rid of the memory, get rid of that thought, don't remember it, don't think about it. And I think eventually it would probably in a way backfire on his cousin as well, because his cousin's not going to be able to produce at the quality he was producing at before when using Brainerd's stuff.
Fair?
Good. He deserves it.
Yeah, fuck that guy.
Yeah, I never liked Brainerd's cousin.
I don't think Brainerd did either.
As soon as we learned about like Brainerd's cousin, everybody's like, "Hey, yo, fuck that guy."
Yeah. It was like him and Galasriel. Like we were pretty quick to not like them, reasonably so.
Asriel was a lot of fun to play as too. That was a good time.
Yeah, Timbo, you confused me as the player. Like, I felt like your portrayal of Galasriel was so good that I was legitimately confused as the player.
Well, I wasn't trying to confuse you as a player, but like you know,
No,
he was a
I mean,
manipulative bastard. That was
It was
the bit.
perfect. Yes.
Oh, yeah,
That's
it was
what I'm
really
saying. It was so good. Like, it wasn't confused me in a bad way. It was like confused me like successfully because, you know, I don't know. It was just very, very good, very convincing. A+.
Yeah, that was a wild time. that was pretty wild.
It was.
And
so
now
fun.
he's without an arm,
No,
alive
it's
somewhere.
He's got
Yeah.
some plants
Oops.
growing on him.
Armless now.
Big oops.
It's fine. Somebody will give him a hand, I'm sure. Anyways,
Oh.
I think the next question would be for Galaxy, right?
Sure.
Yes.
Looks like Raich has that question.
Oh, yes. Yes, my question.
Yes, the question for Galaxy.
Question for Galaxy.
That was like
Oh.
that was a Matt Berry level of delivery on that line.
Good time.
Oh my gosh.
So good.
When did Melu decide they wanted to be a grave cleric? Or when did the grave cleric life choose them?
So I think so I knew from the start I wanted to play a grave cleric, which is why Melu is a grave cleric. And it kind of made sense to me in like a cycle of life way with like the nature of like how being a hunter is and like being a worshiper of Valinor. But I don't think Melu actively chose anything about their clericness. I think it was like kind of thrust upon them, which is why they were so like deer in the headlights. Deer in the headlights, like confused. I said it and then I realized my character has antlers.
Oh my God.
That they were like so confused and they were like so unsure of themselves at times, and they were like, I don't know what's happening. I just have these powers and I want to know more about it, but like here I am and I can see dead things occasionally when I use this. Yeah, exactly. When I use this power, admittedly, like the number one thing that as far as things went, like that made me want to make a grave cleric, I'll 100% it was 100 the mechanics that you get at level 5, which allows you to cancel a nat 20 if it happened within like 30 feet of you, which is really why I wanted it. And it was funny because I never actually got to use that, but I'm okay with it because Melu wound up being so much like more than just the fact that they were a grave cleric, which I feel like happens to me pretty often when I make characters. So yeah, it was fun.
I think that did happen though. Didn't you cancel the crit and like the finale?
I might have canceled the crit in the finale. I can't remember.
That's ringing a bell to me for sure. Yeah, no, I love that. Like, to me, that is very like titular fantasy, right? Like, it's almost like superhero fantasy, right? Where you have this great power thrust upon you and you're like, I don't know what to do with this really, but I can do really cool stuff now, which I couldn't do before. And that's kind of neat. But now I have all this ability and I want to know more about it. And like, what do I do with it? Like, I think that's, and I think you played that really well. Like, I think I could definitely see how that shined through, like your portrayal, right?
Yeah, and that was like something I was kind of thinking about when we like actually started sitting down and talking, because like Melu is one of the few characters I've made, especially recently, that didn't have like a super extensive backstory before I went into it. And so as we kind of were talking and things like that, that was kind of how I developed it. And I was like, you know what? They can be Spider-Man. That works. Like, I can do that.
That's
Yeah, and
awesome.
I think it came out really well because like I remember you gave me like a lot of freedom to be like, I don't know what my I don't necessarily have an idea what my character's origin might be. I'm also open to you just handling all that and me discovering it. And like you kind of just like, that was a lot of fun on my end, and it really fit in well in the context of the rest of the campaign too, like with what I had in mind. Like that was like, that really gave me an opportunity to be like, okay, cool, like I can make this character be a little bit more of like a puzzle piece to fit in to the rest of the larger scope of the season, right?
Yeah, and I definitely when I made Melu and I was like, well, I kind of want to play like vaguely like an amnesia character without playing an amnesia character. Part of the reason I did that was because I was having so much fun with a character in a very similar situation in a game that I was running, where I was having fun DMing that character, which is part of the reason I kind of wanted to try it. So.
Yeah, it was. I played in a similar capacity where I had a paladin who he was a soldier and he was resurrected on the battlefield after he'd been slain by some mysterious force, and then he had paladin powers after the fact, right? And that was a lot of fun for me personally, discovering that. So I was eager to have the opportunity to do so. We didn't really discover all those answers as well, which I think, there's definitely the capacity for exploration of that in future pieces, right?
Noted. Trust me, it's been on my mind that not everything got solved.
Yeah.
I think that's been on all of our minds, to an extent, either just with Melu or in general, because it's there's still so much for every single one of these characters.
Oh yeah.
And I think that's kind of I wanted to be like that. I wanted to have that kind of vibe because to me that makes it come across like it was a real world, right? It was a real breathing place, that wasn't just caught in our story, right? Because to me that's a really fascinating aspect of tabletop games in general is that you're not even seeing a good percentage of this character's life that you're playing as, right? You're just seeing this very small snippet of what happened with them in this one moment of their lives, right? You have general control, right? But you don't play out their backstories and everything that made them and all their character choices, right? And to me that's the idea of diving into a character's story and experiencing that one aspect of it, that one adventure that they went on, this one wild fucking 6-month period in this character's life, and then the story keeps going, right? Because that's how life is, right? It's this, you choose as the narrator when the beginning and the end is, right?
Yeah.
Awesome. So I think next question is for Timbo.
Let's actually do an audience question first, because
You wanna do an audience question?
Yeah.
Okay. So random NPC on the street does something that catches your character's eye. What did that NPC do?
Existed as being undead.
So good.
That's a zombie.
I heard as soon as you said that, I heard the the Family Feud. Good answer.
Exists as being undead. Okay. All right.
They just existed and were undead. I feel like there are other things too. But just that was that was top of mind for me.
I think for Cera it would be they paid too much attention to her. You know what I mean? When you catch someone looking at you just a little too long. That is the type of thing that would get her attention.
Sure. Kind of like the what happened in the Session Zero podcast episode, where people were looking just a little too long, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think they might pull something out of maybe even just gold coins to pay for what they're buying, but they pull something out of a bag of holding, and that catches Brainerd's interest as to what they got in there and what other potential magical items they might have.
I like that.
Yeah.
Anybody praying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anybody
going on there?
praying? Anybody praying would make Elita do a double take and walk faster.
Yeah. All right. So what I'm gathering from like half of these answers is people got trauma.
I wish he never met her.
Melu just wants to
Oh.
use their cool powers.
Melu wants to use their cool powers. Cera is like hyper vigilant because of like trauma. Elita's like, but why you praying though?
Going on over there.
But why is you praying?
Who you praying
Like-
to? Stop.
Like, what is the reason?
Why?
And Brainerd's just like, I wonder what kind of magical artifacts they got in there.
Yeah.
Think they got something cool?
Maybe they have.
I bet
maybe I
there's
can
something
ask them.
cool in there.
There's something real cool in there, you guys. Okay, now question for Timbo.
Okay. Hit me.
Mist or Galaxy? Either one of you.
Galaxy,
Oh.
do you have one? Because I do have one I really want to ask, but like I don't mind waiting either.
I'm looking at the questions right now. Why don't we have Mist go first? Because I think that works as a good foundation for Galaxy's question.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so you've mentioned before that like you've run this previously for an IRL group. How did this change from the first time you ran it?
There were a few differences. For example, I changed up it, like the finale happening in Sharn. Originally, I had involved elements of like the jungles of Kubara and stuff like that, but I wanted to kind of veer away from that, those elements, and just and use things that were a little bit more like I wanted to centralize it a little bit more around like the experience of like of the group, right? And having the home base centered in Sharn really like allowed that to be a springboard, as well as like I also realized that like it made more sense to like have it more isolated because we had already introduced concepts in Sharn, for example, like the magma pipes underneath the city being relevant, right? But I didn't change it that much, to be honest. There was a lot that remained the same. The dragon idols, that was all the same. The general plot line of it being like this miscommunication that Fancy Man was actually attempting to gain gather them all together in order to prevent the apocalypse from occurring, but like from the oracle message that you all gotten from Ptolemy, it kind of been misinterpreted to look like he was trying to cause the end of the world, right? That was all the same. The way that I had originally conceptualized this was it was very heavily episodic, due to the fact that when I was running it in this IRL group, I was running it at a restaurant that was doing a D&D night, right? And so I was never sure who was going to be there and who wasn't going to be there. And I ran an open table for anybody that could just show up and be like, hey, I want to play D&D, and I had pre-built character sheets, so I could just be like, okay, great, here you go, here's your character, you can just sit down and play the game. And it was awesome because we got free drinks when we dungeon mastered, and it was sweet. But anyways, so I written it explicitly to be episodic, so that way people could jump in and jump out and not feel like it was too much of an ask, until I got a group of people that were consistently showing up. And then I was like, okay, cool. At this point, I can just hard pivot into serialized stuff. And then I did. And that's about when, and then at that point of the campaign, that's when the dungeon happens, the reliquary dungeon. So there was kind of this, like the active shift in the campaign where it went from episodic to serialized very closely mimicked how I actually ran it in the real world. I do want to answer this next question though that you have missed, because I feel like, just very briefly, because there is just one thing that is popping in my mind. Go ahead and ask that.
Yeah, are there any major scenes, events, or secrets we missed?
So the big event that y'all missed was the end of at the end of the casino episode, right? Y'all are chasing after Fancy Man in Zachariah's airship, right? And due to Domino holding on to their token for so long, they had it still, and they were able to use it to have the airship souped up, and because of that, y'all completely avoided one of my favorite moments in the campaign, actually, where basically you wake up and the airship has crashed, and y'all find yourself wedged between two cliff faces. The ship is wedged between two cliff faces, and the ship is like very perilously sitting there. And as you move around this cabin, you like move the ship, and like the ship can like flip over. People can go falling out of it. Pterodactyls show up. There's all kinds of wild stuff that can happen, and it's literally ridiculous. And Domino completely caused that to be negated because of their excellent use of the the flashback token.
I am so sorry that I robbed you of that.
It's okay, because I really wanted to honor the fact that you held on to your chit for so goddamn long. You held on to it till the very fucking end, and you know what? You earned it. So you earned the skipping of the scene.
Something in me throughout that entire thing was just like, no, and it's just like also like what would be in character for Cera, because like at that time I was like, she's a bit of a planner, which like she still is, but I think I made her like more impulsive near the end than like always meticulously planning stuff out. But at that point it was just like, man, like what kind of backup, what kind of wild ass contingency plan would she have?
Yeah. And I thought that was like the way that worked out was great. Other than that though, I can't really think of any other major events or secrets that y'all really missed out on. Though I will peel back the curtain a little bit. So in that first heist room, so there was a bunch of magical items in there, right? And y'all were able to successfully secure one of them, which ended up being Facet. The way that I had kind of planned it was that if you had managed to receive any one of those items in that vault, they would have led you to the finale some way or the other.
Ooh.
Oh.
I love that.
Did you
That's
have a
actually
behind
really
the scenes reason?
The room was tied to like the artifact more closely, right? Like I had the idea that like the auctioneer was also or not the auctioneer, but the person who stalked the auction and like behind the scenes, they were also being pulled into like the Draconic Prophecy, albeit maybe potentially unknowingly, right? Now, because that's like one of my favorite things about the Draconic Prophecy is that it is just like, it's not clear. It's this huge like overweeping and wrapping web, right? Like, and if one thing happens, then other things can occur. But if you get a lot of things, a lot of potential in one room together, then the likelihood increases, right? And that was kind of where I was at mentally.
Interesting.
Yeah, so I think that's a good time to add Galaxy's question in.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, how did you go about working in the character backstories once you had them? Because, like, obviously this was like sort of a pre-written campaign, but I was really impressed with like how seamlessly they seemed to work in.
Timbo so much.
Yeah, especially Elita's. Like, Elita's just like fit right on in there, and I think that might have been partially like coincidence, but still, it seemed really good.
Well, I would definitely agree that there was a lot of happy accidents that revolved around Elita's backstory, for sure, right? Like, there were, because I had like this concept of this cult, right, that was actively attempting to what they believed to be the end of the world, right? They were actively attempting to end the world. Their leader, on the other hand, was not trying to do so, but he knew that they wouldn't believe him, very much like Life of Brian, Monty Python style, where they're like, they're the Messiah. I am not the Messiah. Only the Messiah would say that he's not the Messiah, right? Like, he couldn't convince them otherwise, and he saw this opportunity because the dragon mark would just continue to whisper to him in order to actually try to do some good in this capacity. So the concept of this cult like existed like as a large faction and aspect of the show in general, right? So you know, it was pretty natural to work Elita's backstory into that. The concept of the cult, like them being a member of a cult that was ran by just an absolute bastard, and them doing shady shit, like that all fit in. Just that was to me a natural fit, and that required very little modification in my mind, actually, because I was just like, I'm just gonna copy and paste these two words together, and then in the moment I'll make it compelling. It's basically how my brain works. I improv like 90% of everything. That's my true secret, and I know that's the massive cop out, but it's just how I.
It's
how
not
I do everything.
It's amazing. It's a talent.
I love it.
Thank you.
That super is a talent as a DM.
It is. It really is.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And it helps me when there's like lots of thematic ties and elements that are tied together, right? Like for example, I don't want to speak too much about like my thought process for Melu, but like I had this. I love what you were putting out about this concept of the chosen of Valinor, right? Like I love this idea of an individual that has been selected by a god, right? Because to me that's titular fantasy, right? Like that is like it's both your superhero and you're just your classic like fucking Frodo getting the ring, right? Like just literally like what do you do in this moment when you've kind of come into this responsibility all of a sudden? And I really wanted it to be like this vibe of almost because there was a very explicit vibe of Melu was a hunter and they were a tracker and stuff like that. And so I kind of like the idea that you were maybe tracking not yourself but like the previous you, right? Like what would that look like, and how is this character who is this like kind of legendary figure, how do they work in kind of a larger capacity, right? Because as you could probably tell in the course of the story, there is kind of this larger scope of like, for example, what was going on with the reliquary workshop, right? Because they were all working on making holy weapons for this demon war that they were fighting, right? And so that was all stuff that I had created previously, and I knew that was going to be coming up, and I was like, that would be a really cool moment to be like, here's this huge reveal about this previous person that was the chosen one, right? And so a lot of, I also do this thing too which is very Kojima-esque, where I just go, I had this awesome idea for a fucking moment and I want that moment to happen. I will figure out a way for that moment to occur. I will come up with any contrived reason. I will introduce whatever and I will come up with justification for it because I want it to happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I feel that as like a GM.
Right, because it's
sometimes you just want to make something happen.
right, and that if you couldn't tell, that was very much like what the last session was of the game, where it's like y'all are in dragon mechs and y'all are super strong and y'all are fucking beating the shit out of God, basically. Like, I was like,
very good, so good.
So yeah, I'll basically do whatever I want to justify a cool moment in the story. And I was like, and again, I saw like a clear path for a way to work your character in, right? Where it's like Ravon was involved in this super important cataclysmic event of a planescape nature, right? Where it's like shit was bad, right? Like they needed some kind of strength in order to help them, and that was what Ravon was, like literally a divine entity. Or divine presence, right, on the battlefield. And you know, I am pretty happy and proud with the way that kind of I managed to foreshadow a lot of stuff in the earlier episodes, like a lot of the things about like that were discovered about Ravon, about like one being chosen every little while, and like and then being chosen in that capacity to like protect. I thought that was kind of introduced, you know. I tried to hint at that, you know,
Yeah, I definitely, if it helps, I definitely saw it coming in like,
Mhm.
but in that way that it was like, oh, Timbo has been putting things out here up until this point, and oh my god, now they make sense.
Yeah.
Kind of.
I really appreciate hearing that, because that, I feel like, is the exact way that you want to do foreshadowing, where you're like, I don't understand any of these points, and then you get to a moment, you're like, oh, now everything, the walls of the maze have turned to glass, and I see everything, right?
Yes,
Like,
exactly.
yeah.
DM syndrome. I unfortunately realized a little too early, and I caught the rest of the party off guard.
That was,
And I was
then,
like,
you know,
"Do you think there's one of each of us?" And everyone was like, "What the fuck are you talking about?"
It was so funny though.
This is a really good moment though, because like Miss did bring that up, and they loved to just be like, yeah, y'all remember when y'all bitches said this? I was right, because we all did just immediately dismiss him like, man,
That
shut
doesn't
up.
make any sense.
and that was possibly one of my favorite moments in the series, when Brainerd over here with like the high intelligence but low wisdom scores over here being like, maybe there's like multiple of us, and everyone's like, shut up, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about, like that doesn't make any sense. What do you mean one of each of us? That was like, I was like fucking dying as he said that.
So good.
One of my
That
favorite
was-
feelings as a
That
GM.
was hilarious.
Yeah.
For Cera, I really like. Cera was, again, I had this easy tie into the plot, because I wanted it to be about spies, right? Like, there's this big network of agents and stuff. Like, I love that neo-noir fucking spy bullshit. It's all so good. And I thought that would be a strong way to tie Cera's character in, especially somebody who is so, like, literally about being covert, right? Like, I just thought it would be a natural addition to the story, right? Like, I thought their addition to it, to the group, would be this natural, like, kind of covert agent that would just fit in perfectly, basically. I do kind of wish that I had incorporated more of like the backstory elements that Dom had come up with, because Dom came up with a lot of really good stuff for like other characters that and NPCs that they had known in the past. I wish I had been able to incorporate that more. And that brings me to the final character, Mist, playing Brainerd. Well, I feel like I probably did the worst job incorporating, actually.
Oh my god.
I feel like I could have definitely done more, like, in regards to like explicitly like tying Brainerd more deeply into the story. But like, I really appreciated the energy that Brainerd was bringing to it, of being like this kind of like, you know, this very relatable, like, kind of voice of the audience style character, right? Where he would just like say things and it would be like, man, this is like what everybody is thinking.
Yeah.
True. It's true.
Yeah.
That's the best part of a himbo, is
Yeah.
that they're only gonna state the obvious, and they're not gonna filter it.
Also, as far as like Cera goes, I appreciate like how much you did tie her stuff together and like wanting to do more, but like as we had discussed, like off screen, like my thing for Cera was like I wanted her to have like this kind of like rich backstory, but I didn't have much interest in like exploring it in game. Like I just wanted it to like inform like how and why she acted in the now, and like have that move forward. So like I thought it was cool that like it was like dipping back into Elita's past, dipping back into, you know, Melu's past, as a way to like move forward to their future, and like less of that with Cera.
That's really interesting that you bring that up, because Mist almost did that himself in the dream segment, right? Where it was like he really perpetuated and pushed that forward by being like, I give up these memories of my cousin stealing my shit, right? That's really compelling.
Yeah, just boom. This just happens, and it's like, oh okay.
Yeah, and I think that's another important part, Timbo, is like, I wouldn't say it's bad that you didn't work Brainard's backstory in, because like Brainerd is a very lives in the present type of person. He doesn't think about the past, he doesn't think about the future, and I think that was just as vital to his character. So like, I think like, I don't need my backstory to necessarily be front and center all the time. I mean, depending on the character, sometimes I want it more. I'm not gonna say like I don't want to sound like I'm like, oh, everyone else needed it. Like,
Sure.
I think it fit for Brainerd. Like, I don't think there was any reason for Brainerd's backstory to have this huge dramatic role in this game. It's his reason for joining the Golden Shadows, and it's you know, it did come up a few times, and that's all I wanted. I liked where it was.
Yeah,
I appreciate that. I guess it's really more a complaint on my end because I really feel like everybody dished out fantastic ideas vis-a-vis character concepts, and I really wanted to highlight that more, but like simply due to the nature of like the game itself, right? It was very like it's been brought up, it was kind of a little bit of a pre-written campaign, right? That I incorporated everybody into. But it's just like I really loved everybody's characters. Everybody did such a good job making their characters, and I was like, I want to explore more of this stuff. So I guess really it's more a complaint on more an internal criticism. But you know that's what
the dream segment was really like chef's kiss.
Oh,
that was
Yeah, that
so
was
good.
that was one of my favorite. Like, I still think about that, and like just
So good.
I remember talking about it on TikTok afterwards and being like, it was just so good to have my character in a position where they had to make such a difficult decision for themselves, and like that was like it worked so well.
good.
And
I'm
do you know how
glad.
you work a character who doesn't care about their own history being in the present? That you literally give them the opportunity to delete it, and Brainerd slammed his fist down and said, "I'll take it."
He
I'm
pressed
in
that
the
button-
now,
he
baby.
pressed that button so quick, so
he did.
hard.
He didn't even
Just
really think about it that
immediately.
hard.
He was just like honk. There you go.
And to me, that's like,
Vodka.
I really love that segment too, because it is just so outside of the box, right? Because it really, at that point, you're just playing with such unique themes and like potential, right? That it's like basically anything could happen almost in this moment, right? Like you could trade all your memories away for magic items or anything, right? Like it's, to me, that's like that segment is like one of the most dangerous ones, because it's like you literally could do, I have very little control in this moment. You could literally do anything that you want. You could trade everything away. And what would I do? Say no? No, of course not. The guy wants the deal.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a real fun one. That was a good one.
I believe the next question is for me. Also, we're about 15 minutes out from 2 hours.
Yeah, I was gonna say, do we want to switch over to answering Timbo's question of favorite moment of the campaign?
Yeah, that might be good.
Yeah, probably for the best. I could see that definitely at least taking 15 minutes.
All right,
wants to go
who wants to lead it off?
I think I kind of did on accident. My favorite moment in the campaign was the dream thing. I really liked that. There were a lot of like really small moments that I liked. Like the first time that Brainerd and like Melu went off on their own will always be so good to me, because it was just such a like, wow, this combo is really something, isn't it? In such like a different way than like Brainerd and Cera and Brainerd Elita was.
Yeah.
Yeah, that dream thing was definitely probably one of the it was probably my favorite. That and like what was her name? The lady that we saved from the statue.
Lady Maria and Tara.
Yeah, when we saved her, and her being like, "Oh, you're here too. Hello." And like mistaking Melu for Ruvan was very funny for me. Like internally, I was like, this is everything I could have wanted." But also, oh my god, I was so overwhelmed in the moment that like I couldn't even think of questions for her. It was funny.
And then that was
That was
kind of
a
like,
lot of it.
again, that almost foreshadowed what happened later in the library, right?
Yes, exactly. Who's next? Come on, guys.
So I know what mine is. Mine is definitely after Ellida and Cera had their big fight. Brainerd getting to go parent mode on Cera, because I think that was really my first time in character where Brainerd stopped seeing Cera as sort of the boss of the team.
It's
Oh yeah, that was very
funny.
good.
I was thinking about that moment as well, and I like it for the opposite reason, just because it's like it was in a different way the first time I got to like show just how stubborn Cera could be and how she's just like, fuck it, we'll all sit here with spicy armpits. I don't care.
Spicy.
But I think selfishly, my favorite moment was probably the finale when Cera just got to snatch Brother Bobby's soul.
That was good.
Literally.
That was very good.
Like selfishly for me, like that was it, because I had been, ever since I hit that level, I had just been like holding on to that in my back pocket. I had been saving that for Fancy Man.
Oh, Fancy Man.
Oh my gosh, I'm so mad about Fancy Man still.
Same.
Amazing. I think
I'm
that's
so
right.
mad I didn't get to hold person sister Maggie.
Oh,
It never worked.
oh.
It's okay.
Yeah, there might be some unresolved issues that come back in the if we were to do a season 2 for sure.
Rach.
Get her one day.
So again, selfishly, I absolutely like this whole campaign was full of such good moments with character stuff, but I gotta say the very end for me, that was the part that almost made me cry. Like the whole thing with getting Viola back for Elita was just so immersive and good for like it was just so good. I can't explain why, except it made me feel a lot, and that's how I define if things are good, is if they make me feel a lot of things. So that is it. Honestly, but also like on that note, like I mentioned this in chat a little bit, but I originally was not going to bring up any of that stuff. Like it was just going to be like something hinted at. I think in a lot of other games I had not really been able to explore a character's backstory like that. So when I really started to care about Elita, and I started to care about her backstory and the people in it just by thinking about it. And I was talking to Dom, and I was just like, God, I wish I could express this somehow. Like I wish I could like put this out there. And then he's just like, well, tell Timbo. Like tell him what? He's like, everything. So I literally was like, hey Timbo, can I share something with you? I was like, can I share more about your backstory? And he was like, I think I get it. I'm like, no, listen. I just like sent him paragraphs of how I felt about Elita's backstory and Viola. And yeah, I mean, I doubt I'm ever gonna have a character like that involved again, but it was really nice. It was really nice to be able to have that and see it through and feel things and reach a closure with an end, you know, like it was very good. That's why I like that last scene.
Right, and I think that was like what was really fascinating to me too, is like you mentioned, you didn't tell me about a good percentage of this stuff until we had already started playing, and we were I'm not sure how many months into it, but we were like we had already had like 4 sessions or so, I feel like, at that point, maybe more.
After episode 6, the dream episode, after that. It was after that I talked to you. Yeah.
Yeah. So we'd had like several episodes already. And then you were like talking about it, and we had talked about it like kind of briefly in like general terms, because I do things best in general terms and then find specifics in the moment, right? We talked about it in general terms, and then you were talking about it more with Cera and like that one scene in episode 2, and then you gave me all this additional information, and it's like it's really interesting to me because like you gave me the opportunity to do stuff on the fly and like mix these things in, but it was almost like you had done like the work already by setting it up so effectively without even meaning to, right? Like in the second episode, you set all that up perfectly, and then and then you were like, here's a bunch more information for you to play with, and I was like, wow, you've given me like a lot of information to fuck with here. I'm gonna do something with this.
Yeah. I guess I was like, just tell him. I was like, but I don't wanna like make him feel like he has to incorporate it. I was like, then
My whole thing at that time was like, it's less about like making him feel like he has to incorporate it, and more giving him the tools to like pick and choose stuff to then incorporate into the story that can really make for like good character moments for you. Because it's like, if these are things that you want to explore, well, you're not going to get them by not asking for them.
Yeah, exactly. I was prepared just never to get it. And just to like sit here in my head by myself. But then
which is like wild to me, because like that addition of like you telling me about Viola allowed me to incorporate it much more heavily into the campaign. You doing so like totally fundamentally altered the trajectory of what the campaign looked like initially, right? Because it became like, when y'all were talking about and making this deal about being like, oh, we're gonna swap the idol with Fancy Man for a fake one instead. That actually is a great example of something that y'all did much differently. Because in the original campaign, the party just got the third idol snatched from them again. Like they literally all 3 times they had the idol snatched out from underneath them. But y'all had this plan in place, and which I really liked.
I would have exploded if we had another idol stolen from us.
I was about to say, I don't think Cera could have taken that.
I don't.
then you had like more at risk too. Like it wasn't just like, I mean, there was like the job, and then it was like really personal. Then it was like, oh, now there's like collateral involved, and like, you know, all this stuff.
Yeah, it really
There's
raised
a whole
the
person
stakes.
we're trying to keep alive.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it was like it became much more like, it added like a much more human element to it, versus like the ineffable desires of the cult, right? Like, because y'all didn't.
Yes.
Y'all had a general concept of what the cult was doing due to Ptolemy, right? But like, but like tying a Viola into it really made it like, really humanized it. I felt like a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to Ptolemy.
Yeah, I still think about him.
He's so good.
I thought about him
What a good
like
man.
calling y'all in the last scene, being like, "Oh, I think I might have gotten the thing wrong," but then I was like, "That's a little hammy."
I actually was gonna say, like, because I started thinking about it and I was like, I wonder if this makes Ptolemy evil.
No, it just makes him.
He's just
idiot.
naive. he's just a naive little dude. Actually, how old is Ptolemy?
You know, I didn't have like an established age for him. I just considered him to be like a young dragon, basically. Like,
Yeah, that's what I figured. 'Cause he strikes me as like, hey, I'm a young dragon, and like, kind of like Cera in scheme of things, like compared to like, let's say Brainerd, it's like, oh, like you've been around for a while, and like in their own eyes, they're like, bro, I'm so fucking young.
right.
Yeah.
I am
Similar-
a baby.
Similar vibes.
Oh
Okay,
my gosh,
actually, I
Melu.
changed my answer for favorite moment. Selfishly, my favorite moment was getting to have Melu say that they're actually a halfling. I wanted that to happen, and it happened.
So funny.
It certainly did.
That was so good.
FYI,
Later.
a young dragon, I decided to Google it, is 6 to 100 years.
Yep.
I did not know that age range, but that sounds about right. Yeah, I was picturing.
It was
him.
more specific in older editions because they had more age groups.
That makes sense. So probably,
he's a
maybe
young
not
little
technically
dude.
a young dragon anymore, but probably he's 113.
What would
Oh,
that
he's
be?
a baby.
Juvenile?
That's adult now, but
okay.
previously 113 was also adult, so
Okay, yeah.
But he's still like, you know, like he's like 19.
Yeah,
you
he's
know
a
what
very,
I mean?
he's a very young adult, yeah. So I get it. Like, yeah, dude, he's just like so naive, and like he's got this hyperfixation on like the draconic prophecy, and he's like, oh shit, I think I'm about to fuck that up a little bit.
Like
Oh,
Ptolemy
geez.
bolts right up in bed. Oh God, I think I fucked that prophecy up.
Ugh, I loved him.
I
Ugh.
I foresee Ptolemy getting a visit from Cera in the future, if not multiple visits.
Actually, that reminds me. One scene I had in my brain was just like Brainerd waking up one morning like for a Golden Shadows mission, and he walks out like holding like a teddy bear, Stripe,
Oh.
and then he's just like, "Yeah, this is still happening."
So good.
Oh, Stripe.
We all love Stripe.
We do.
Amazing. All right,
I
cool.
added Stripe to my Kobold Circus. I think
Oh, wow.
the audience needs to know that. In my home game, I have a circus full of kobolds, and now one of their like leaders is Stripe now,
Good.
along
Honestly,
with
that's
the tiefling ringleader.
That's a high honor indeed. I think it's a high honor when you have an NPC that you created show up in another person's game, being like, here's like even or a PC, you know, anytime that you have cross contamination like that, it's very. It's real cool
It's such a good name for a kobold.
It is.
Oh
Amazing.
man.
All right,
Not
cool.
sure my
We are-
favorite moment to just like Brainerd carrying around Stripe like a teddy bear. Like that was really good. That was hilarious.
Alrighty, so we are pushing up at near. We're about 5 minutes out from the 2 hour mark. Does anybody have any final thoughts, questions, anything that they want to ask in this final moment?
Thank
I
you
got one more
again
for Timbo.
to everyone. Go Mist.
Shoot, missed.
Timbo, when are you gonna run a masks game for us?
Oh, it's probably gonna happen. Maybe we'll do that.
Oh.
Maybe we'll do that in the interim.
Hell yeah.
Something a little short, a little sweet. Because I did run a mask game for a little while, and I do have all that written up. Though it might, you know, one of my favorite parts about masks is that like when you're building it, you really build the world too, just like any Powered by the Apocalypse game. So I might, you know, inspiration might strike, and who knows. I've also been thinking about maybe something Monster of the Week related, especially for like Spooky Month. I don't know.
Oh.
Maybe I should collab with Timbo.
That'd be
Yeah,
fun.
maybe you should.
I already offered to produce that stream for you, Raich. So.
Yeah, so maybe. Okay, we'll talk.
Who's each character's best man or best woman? You know, I don't know. I've been thinking about this because
Like in marriage or friend?
I think marriage. Like, who
Yeah,
do you
marriage.
invite to your wedding as your best man or best woman?
It's what
Yeah,
brings
like, who would be-
us together.
exactly who would be like your best man or your maid of honor. I truly do not know. For Cera, it might be Brainerd.
Oh.
It might be.
Oh yeah.
It really might be. Yeah.
I feel like Melu's is Cera. Like they would be like, I need someone incredibly responsible for this position.
That's why I was gonna say I think Melu would be the best man for Brainerd, but
no, they'd be so
also I then thought, well, Melu's a cleric. Theoretically, Melu could also be the priest.
I was about to
They
say,
could
like,
officiate all of the weddings.
yeah, Melu can officiate the wedding.
Yeah. They'll cast ceremony.
Why could I see Melu trying to officiate their own wedding?
It
yeah.
absolutely would happen. This is funny though because like somehow this happens with my characters sometimes. I kind of feel like Melu is like might be aromantic asexual, like Arrow Ace. Where they're like it's fun to watch all of you guys do this, but I'm not really gonna partake. Like
I love it.
so
That's very good.
yeah.
That is
Well,
so-
there's at least one couple that's definitely getting married. So,
Yes!
Elita.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely. There is marriage in Elita and Viola's future, even way down the line. But I do think that it would be such a disorganized affair where, like, somebody would have to take the reins themselves. Like, I don't think that even Elita would want anything that was too structured to plan out. I think it just comes to the actual thing happening, people being there that they love, And it's probably not that many people at all. It's probably all of this gang that's invited. I don't know if Viola has any friends. Zed can come.
Zed will officiate.
Yeah.
I love how you said Zed can come, but it sounded like there was about to be a but she's on thin fucking ice.
I agree. This sounded like there was gonna be a butt there for
What's
sure.
wrong with that?
No. I don't think she'd have one. I don't think she'd have a best anybody, because I mean, how do you ugh. I don't know.
Somebody help this poor girl.
Yeah, one of y'all is gonna have to step in and fix it.
Yeah, it feels
Somebody
very
s-
like Barbosa
fix it.
Marius.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
except very beautiful with a lot of flowers. A lot of flowers everywhere. I haven't thought about this at all. Just so you
It
know.
sounds like Cera ends up planning this wedding. I'm going to be honest here.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, everybody.
Who else is
Oh,
coming to
man.
the wedding, do you think? Other than like the obvious cast, right? And Zed, naturally. You think Ptolemy's gonna make an appearance there?
You know
He's
Stripe and
invited.
Ptolemy are going to be there.
They're gonna be
You know.
invited at least. Yeah, it's up to them if they show up.
I mean,
Also,
that's-
like, this is Eberron, baby. How many people can say, yo, a dragon came to my wedding?
Sorry, I
mean, he'd be
just
there in boy form.
immediately.
to be fair,
I mean, obviously, but like, Elita would know.
true. And anybody
I
else
just
with true sight.
pictured Stripe in a little suit.
That's so
Oh.
custom tailored.
Yeah.
Oh, I might need to commission art of this.
Would
and-
would Zachariah and Amelia be invited?
100%, yes, absolutely. They would be invited.
Oh, and then you could get
Well-
Lady Maria and Tara. She can officiate.
Yes!
There you go. She can do the
She's
same.
Yeah,
officiating. She's officiating this
is.
little wired ASMR wedding.
Yeah.
With good intentions.
good.
Yeah, all of them. I'm trying to remember who else we met that we would. Yeah, everyone's invited, so
Hell yeah.
all of them.
Amazing. Alrighty, beautiful. All right, great. I think we're good to call. I think we're good to call it there. Thank you again, everybody, for being here. Thank you again to my wonderful cast. Let's go around one last time, so that way everybody can find out where to find you. Galaxy, why don't you go first?
Oh yeah, so I'm Galaxy. You can find me on YouTube primarily. I always say this. You can find me on YouTube at Just Galaxy, and then you can also find me on TikTok primarily at Galaxiebot. Galaxy is always spelled with an IE for me.
Perfect. Next, Domino.
Yeah, you can find me at twitch.tv/DominoRBG or twitter.com/DominoRBG. Just kind of being a general internet nuisance.
Excellent. Next, Mystrich.
Hello, I'm Mystrich. I stream over on twitch.tv/Mystrich. This Saturday coming up, I am running a Call of Cthulhu game that Timbo's going to be in.
I'm looking forward to that one. It's gonna be a lot of fun. We're playing. Give us the blurb. What's it gonna be about?
Yeah, so it is called Viral. It is a adventure that you can find on DriveThruRPG. It's about a group of YouTubers exploring a famously haunted island, trying to hit their 1 million subscriber mark and live streaming their entire experience. Except there's a lot more on that island than they bargained for.
Oh man, I'm so excited for that. That's gonna
Good
be
pitch.
that's gonna be a lot of fun. Yeah, excellent pitch. Also, just off the dome, perfect. That's gonna be great. And last but not least, Rich.
Hi, I'm Raichkyu. Whoa! Yeah, I'm Raichkyu. You can find me at twitch.tv/Raichkyu. I'm actually going to be streaming immediately after this ends. Near
Oh.
Automata, so come check
Do you
me
want me to
out.
raid? I can raid into you. I was gonna raid into Beep, but I can raid into you instead if you're gonna just go live right now.
I was.
Okay.
I just have. Give me 1 second while I
you're
take
good.
some things off the screen.
You're all good, my dude. Take your time. Yeah, go follow Raichkyu if you're not. We're gonna be raiding into her, so you're gonna have ample opportunity to do so. But thank you again, everybody, for coming out. Thank you again, Vixen for the follow, Anna Breath for the follow, Lethargic Waldo for the follow, and Cheesy for the follow. And thank you, Nova Rosa, for inviting these wonderful folks in to the guild. I super appreciate it. You can also catch all the previous episodes of Exploits on the Golden Shadows on my YouTube channel. You can find that in the links below. But thank you again, everybody, for being here. You will see the cast of Exploits return. Don't worry, there's more adventures on the horizon, and yeah. But thank you again, everybody. All right, so goodbye.
Bye.
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 Bye.